everyone, today we are talking November favorites, and I'm going to kick this off by talking about the palette that I just recently included in 5 neglected palettes I'm going to be using in the next few months that sort of had a winter theme. I mean, by the end of that video, they were not winter themed whatsoever, but it did start off initially like that. Anyway, the palette that I've really been enjoying in the last month has been the Faced Clover palette. And man, I love the outer packaging. I don't really know why, because I'm not somebody who loves cutesy stuff. In general, I find cutesy stuff pretty repulsive. But there is something about the design of this palette that I find very sweet. But anyway, the packaging aside, the shadows in here, I've said before, I thought were interesting for Too Faced, but I also felt like they were a little bit strange and not ones that I necessarily knew how to put together too well with this palette. However, because I've been using it so much in the last, I think, month or so, that I've gotten well acquainted with this palette, and now I'm super impressed with it. And thankfully, if you are interested in it, it's still available on Too Faced website, which is great. But what's shocked me so much about this palette is that I think the problem is that I just don't like the way the shades are laid out. I don't find it very cohesive to my brain on how they're laid out. But when I actually sat down and thought about the shadows that I wanted to put together, looks kind of came together a little bit better once I put a bit more thought into it. Some of the shades that have surprised me the most have been Wet Kisses over here. It's a copper color, but it's got a lot of pink in it, but there's a lot of, I want to say, like, majestic reflect to it too. I don't know, I put that thing on the lid and I was blown away at not only how smooth and pigmented it was, but just at how neat the color looked. And at the time, I believe I paired it with Daddy's Heart Me, which is a matte paler cranberry tone with a little bit more magenta pink in it. And I couldn't believe how vibrant that eyeshadow look came out, because when I look at them, I'm like, okay, they're colorful, but they're not like electrifying. And then I put them on the eyes and I was like, whoa, hang on here. This is something really neat and impressive. And I think I put Love is Love through the crease as well. So those 3 colors really worked well together. I also started playing around with Spoiled Up Here, which is the only color that is remotely winter themed in this palette. Really like the effect of this one on the lid. It's a beautiful color. It's like a seafoam blue with a hint of green in it. It's gorgeous. And then the one shade that I really wanted to get some use out of, but I feel like I wasn't reaching for it because it was a matte, was Good Boy Down Here, which is a matte yellow color, which generally with a yellow, I want to put it on the lid because I think it makes the most sense there because it's quite vibrant. And generally when I put a vibrant color, like a bright vibrant color like that in my crease in the outer corner, I just don't like how it looks because it's not deepening up that outer area. So it looks a little bit off to me. But I almost never reach for putting matte colors on the lid, which I don't know why. I love mattes, but it's just not something I generally do. So one day I finally broke down and I put Good Boy on the lid, and I think I matched it with some other browns in here, and I was like, oh, yeah, you're pretty and you're a lot of fun to play with. I also tootled around in some of the pinkier shades over here, Best Friends, which is like that typical blue-brown pigment color. And honestly, I had a lot of fun with this palette. I'm still playing with it, which makes me happy because I'm getting use out of my products. But yeah, at first sight, I just don't like the layout of this palette, and I probably, if I rearranged it, it would appeal to me a lot better. But in practice, it's been a lot of fun to play with, and I've really been happy that I've been digging it out. Okay, the next few products are a new-ish range from Revlon, and I've been meaning to put up a blog post recently on them, but I've become a little bit disenchanted with the blog. I haven't been enjoying writing posts nearly as much as I do filming, so I've been putting off a lot of blog posts. So this post is forthcoming if you're looking for a review. Maybe now that I've said it and put this video up, it'll force me to put the actual post up. So these are the, what am I talking about, right? These are the Revlon So Fierce vinyl eyeliners. And I was a little bit skeptical about these at first because I don't like a shiny eyeliner in general. I feel like it looks a little bit strange on the lash line when you've got that sort of like pleather type look. It looks a little bit strange to my eyes. However, I've really been enjoying these. I think I was sent the entire collection by Revlon, and I put off trying them initially because I just didn't care about them, like pleather looking vinyl eyeliner, whatever. And then I started using them and I was like, okay, you're kind of intriguing. So I pulled the 3 colors out that I've been using the most. The first one here is Great, where is the name? It's Powerful Plum, but I see a lot of blue in this color. The next one is Righteous Rum, which is more of a deep red shade, which got me really excited. And then the other one here is Mighty Mocha, which is surprising because I don't wear a lot of brown eyeliner in particular. And funnily enough, I found myself reaching for brown eyeliner in the last month, so this one has been really handy. So what's so nice about these pencils is that they are so emollient, but they stay put. So when you're drawing them on your eye, they glide on like butter. Like they just go on so smoothly. And in fact, they are so smooth that if you want to use like an eyeliner brush with these, you can definitely just paint the brush with it and then draw it on your eyes and there's no issue. So they're so smooth. You apply them on the eye, they glide on, there's no tugging, there's no pulling, and then they stay put. They don't move around. I don't know how that works because generally when a product is so emollient and so smooth, I expect it to slide around on my eyes, but these don't. They stay put. They're fantastic, and I do really like the colors with these. There is a traditional like black as well, and there is a gray, which is really neat, but I've been really enjoying the brown, the more maroon colored, and the purpley blue. So yeah, I'm really impressed with these. I kind of thought that this was one of those items that I was going to get, try it out, and then like just pass it on to friends and family. I'm not giving these away. I really, really like these. So as the seasons change, I've been reaching for different bronzers just because obviously a bronzer that works for me in the summertime is not gonna work for me in the wintertime. And there were two in particular that I decided to play with because number one, they've been neglected in my collection for a while, and number two, they had varying tones but worked for me in this wintertime. So the two I'm talking about are one by NYX and one by The Body Shop. So what makes these so nice for me is that they're a little bit paler than most of my other bronzers, which is nice, but one of them is a bit more of a cool tone bronzer, which is the Body Shop one here, and the other one's a little bit more of a warm toned bronzer, which is the NYX one over here. So depending on what I'm wearing, I tend to like matching my bronzer a little bit with my eyeshadow. So if I'm wearing like a cooler toned look, something like what I've got on today, I want to wear a more neutral, cool bronzer, and if I'm wearing something a little bit more warm and fiery, I want a bit of a warmer bronzer. So I've had this Body Shop, what's it called? Body Shop bronzing powder. They're the honey bronzers. This is the lightest shade that they make. It's 01 Light Matte. I've had this for so long because this was super hyped up many moons ago on YouTube, and I like the aesthetic of it. It was highly raved about. I like the honeycomb pattern that was on it. There's a little bit left still around the edges, and it was easy to use. It's one of those bronzers you can put on your face and not be worried about being too heavy-handed, and I'm just happy to be wearing it again. I don't feel like anybody talks about this bronzer anymore, but I've still got it in my collection. It's still readily available at The Body Shop, and I think it's one of those just easy to use bronzers, and I really like the tone of it. I mean, it's not too cool toned, but it is more cool toned than the NYX one. So as I was saying, if I want something that's a little bit more warmer toned, I'll reach for the NYX bronzer. This is the lightest shade as well. It's their NYX matte bronzer, and the shade that I have is light. And this one is a bit more warm toned, but it has a little bit more of a peachy edge to it. So I've been wearing, funnily enough, a lot of like peachy copper shades, like in the Clover palette. This shade here that I was talking about worked really well with this bronzer just because they sort of fit in that same sort of color scheme. So I've gotten a little bit of use out of this bronzer over the years, but not nearly as much as the number of times that I've used it in the last month. And it's smooth. It's easy to use. I can go a little bit more heavy-handed with this just because the pigmentation is a little bit stronger. So I do have to go a little bit lighter to make sure that I'm not going overboard. But I really like it. I know a lot of people rave about these, and it's no surprise just because it's so easy to use. It blends nicely. I like the packaging too. Like, it feels sturdy. It's a little bit bulky, but it's not overbearing. It's definitely not like the butter bronzer size. But I just like it. I just like it. Okay, so the very last thing I'm going to talk about is not makeup related. It's not really beauty related, but I have to talk about it because I am so mad that I waited until I was 36 years old to use a menstrual cup because I think they're freaking incredible. So I'm showing you the packaging that it comes in so that you have like a visual identity of what this thing looks like if you happen to be looking for it in a drugstore. This one is the Life brand menstrual cup, which is available at Shoppers Drug Mart or Pharmaprix if you're in Quebec. And this was sent to me in PR. And I waited an extra month before I tried it out because I was honestly nervous. I was like, I don't know about this thing. I know people have been using them for many moons now, but I like tampons and I don't see the point in changing to a menstrual cup. Yeah, well, I'm here to tell you I should have done it decades ago. One of my best friends in Ottawa, her name is Allison, she's been using a menstrual cup since I think she was like 22, and she's been raving about it for a very, very long time, and I was always just like, ew, no, like, I don't want to, like, that seems stupid, like, to collect your blood in this little cup and then throw it out, that seems excessive. I should have listened to her, and I'm annoyed that I didn't, because this thing is incredible. Now, I'm not a connoisseur of menstrual cups by any means, but one of the things that turned me on to trying one of these out was Samantha Rovendell's video on menstrual cups. It was not only the most informative thing I've ever seen in my life, but it was also hysterical. So I will link to that video down below because it sold me on actually trying one of these out, and now I will never switch back. I don't even know how to describe how much it has changed me in just 1 month. Like, I don't have to carry around tampons anymore. I'm somebody who already doesn't carry a purse. So when my period hit and I had to carry around tampons, I was always annoyed because they always had to go in my pocket. And while I did use the OB brand, and I love those intensely because they're so small and they don't have an applicator, I don't have to carry anything around when I'm wearing a menstrual cup. You empty it like twice a day. I do it pretty much every 12 hours. You just drain it in the sink when you're at home, rinse it out, put it back in, and it just collects your blood for the next 12 hours. It's comfortable to sleep with. It's comfortable to exercise with. I have no problems with it. And I just feel cleaner. I just feel cleaner. I don't feel particularly dirty on my period to begin with, but for whatever reason, when you're dealing with tampons and panty liners and all that stuff, you just feel a little bit gross down there. It just feels a little bit squishy, a little bit wet. You know what I'm talking about. With this, there's none of that. There's none of that. It's mind-blowing. It is such a life-changing experience. It's phenomenal, and I can't encourage people enough to go try out a menstrual cup. This Life brand one worked for me right out of the gate. I know some people do have to like try them out to see what fits best with them. This one's fine for me. If you're wondering about which one I have the Model A, which is apparently good for women under 30 years old, which I'm not, I'm 36, or for women who have never delivered vaginally or by C-section. I've never had a kid, so I haven't delivered anything, but this does work for me and I'm over 30. So that's the one I'm using. It fits perfectly. I'm in love with it. You need to go try one out. Seriously, you just need to go try one out. They're fantastic. So that's gonna be it for this favorites video. That was a little bit about makeup and then a lot of raving about a menstrual cup. But seriously, please go try one. I know they're kind of pricey. They're around like $30, $35. It's worth it. It's totally worth it. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble on. I hope you found the video informative, and I will see you next time. Bye.